What's up, fourth grade? It is Mr. Cole again, and today's lesson is going to look a little different. Today we'll be talking about the effects of alcohol use. We'll be talking about how alcohol drains your brain, basically. It drains your brain. And before we get into that, like always, we're going to do a little recap. We're going to do a little jogging of your memory. So if you remember, in last week's lesson, we learned 6 peer pressure refusal strategies. Okay, go ahead and raise your hand if you can tell me just one of them. Raise your hand if you remember just one of them. Okay, if your hand's raised, you can go ahead and use your indoor voice and just tell me. I'm listening. Go ahead. All right, there's some great answers there. For the sake of this lesson, I have a few answers just to help jog your memory. So we have say no, walk away, and ignore. And that's just 3 of the 6 that we learned. But I just wanted to jog y'all's memory. Make sure that y'all remember these 3 because they're going to help out with today's lesson. Hint, hint. All right, so now we're going to hop into today's lesson. We have a lot to cover, so we're just going to go ahead and hop right into it. We're going to talk about thinking clearly. Thinking clearly. Go ahead and open your workbooks to page 20, section titled Brain Warm Up. So in order to think clearly, you got to warm up your brain, right? Of course, you guys. So what you are going to do is work with your neighbor to solve each riddle. Write your answer on the line provided. All right, so to make sure that you guys understand, we're going to do the first one together. We're going to do a practice round like always. So number 1 looks something like this, right? What do you guys think the answer is? Think about it. Once you have a guess or an answer, go ahead and write it down. All right, so the answer to number 1 is man overboard. Anyone heard that phrase before, man overboard? Anyone been on a boat before? No? Yes? Maybe? All right, great job, you guys. So that's what the puzzles are going to look like. Now, you guys have 2 minutes to go ahead and complete the brain warm-ups. Go ahead and get that brain warmed up. Starting now. All right, you guys, awesome job. Go ahead and bring it back. Bring those brains back to my attention. All right, so we're going to go through the rest of the brain warm-ups. So we have this one. Does anyone know what this one is? What the answer to this one is? So this one's a little bit trickier. So I have two answers that I'm going to accept. So we have bicycle and recycle. So bicycle, we all know what a bike is. Does everyone know what recycle means? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Yep, there it is. All right, so we're going to move on to number 3, you guys. So number 3 looks something like this. You should have something like this as your puzzle for number 3. Does anyone know the answer to this one? Give you a hint. There's a restaurant named after this one. That's right, you guys. It is Jack in the Box. Awesome job, you guys. We're going to move on to number 4. So number 4 looks something like this. Does anyone know the answer to number 4? Of course. The answer to number 4 is downtown, because the town is going down. Makes sense? Of course it does. All right, so we're going to move on to number 5, you guys. So number 5 looks a little similar, but not exactly the same as number 4. Does anyone know the answer to number 5? I'll give you a hint. That's right. Number 5, the answer is waterfall. Great job, you guys. We got one last one. The very last puzzle, brain puzzle. So this is what it looks like. Does anyone know the answer? All right, you guys. So the answer to this one is crossroads. Did y'all get that one? Did you get all 6? Do y'all's brains feel warmed up? I hope they do, because we are going to go ahead and move on. But great job, you guys. So what abilities did you need to solve these puzzles? Think about it. What did you use? Very good. You had to see, you had to think, you had to communicate. We talked about communicating in another lesson of ours, right? You had to use your communicating skills. What else did you have to do? You needed to use your ability to see, think, and communicate to do most of these things, right? Or just to do life, or do the fun things that you want to do in life. Well, just to let you know, using this drug that we're going to talk about in a second can interfere with reaching your goals. It can interfere with making hard, good decisions. Remember lesson 2. We always go back to lesson 2, making good, healthy decisions, and you making them clearly. So now we're going to break down what the word drug means. Does anyone know what drug is, or what a drug is? I'm hearing great stuff, you guys. So a drug is a substance that comes in multiple forms, including alcohol. But today we will be focusing on just alcohol. So you guys, there's actually 3 types of alcohol, and they are beer, wine, and liquor. Those words probably sound familiar to you guys. You might have heard them before. But all 3 of the alcohols affect your mind and body the same way. So what is the legal age for drinking alcohol? Does anyone know? Shout out some numbers. 21. The legal age of drinking alcohol is 21. However, no matter a person's age, drinking alcohol affects the normal functions of the brain. Drinking alcohol is especially harmful for young people under the age of 21 because their brains are growing and developing. So alcohol use is just not healthy, you guys, especially for your brain. And now that we have covered that, we are going to go into our next activity. So what I need you guys to do is take a look at the section in your workbooks titled Thought Cloud. So you should see a section where you see a big brain and each part of the brain and what it does and how alcohol affects it. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple minutes to go ahead and read over that. We're gonna learn some new things about the brain. Those couple minutes start now. right, you guys. So back to me just really quickly. So I bet y'all learned a lot from that. But we are now going to look at the same diagram, same picture, and you have 1 minute to look at the brain diagram and see the various functions and how they are negatively affected by alcohol use. All right, and that 1 minute starts now. All right, you guys, great job. So I want to see what you guys have learned. So who can tell me how alcohol use impairs decision making? So we talked about decision making in lesson 2. Everything goes back to lesson 2. I keep telling you guys that. So how does alcohol impair your decision making? Go ahead and shout some answers out using your indoor voice. All right, great job, you guys. So, alcohol use affects a person's ability to think clearly. Impaired thinking can cause bad decision making. All right, great job, you guys. So, we're going to move on to speech and language. Same thing. How can alcohol use affect speech and language? All right, I heard some great speech and language right there. So, the alcohol use can affect the part of the brain that controls your speech, and that can give you eventually slurred speech. And no one wants slurred speech. That's not good. That's not good for communicating, like we talked about in lesson 4. Now, are we all seeing why we went through these lessons and what we're building up to? All right, great stuff, you guys. So now we're going to move on to your memory. We all have a memory. So who can tell me how alcohol affects your memory? Awesome job. Sounds like y'all have a great memory. So alcohol use can affect your ability to remember, specifically with short-term memory loss. Who remembers raise your hand if you remember the movie Finding Nemo. You might remember a little fish named Dory, and she had short-term memory loss. So, short-term memory loss you can also get from drinking alcohol. Even though it might sound super cool to be like Dory, a fish like Dory, because she's super fun, you don't want short-term memory loss, you guys, so we should avoid alcohol. All right, so we're going to move on to vision. First off, who knew that alcohol affected your vision? You know, that this is actually recently new news to me too. I did not know alcohol affected your vision. But what did we learn from our diagram, you guys? How does alcohol affect our vision? That's right, you guys. Alcohol use can affect the part of your brain that controls your vision and gives you blurred vision. I don't know about you guys, but I like the idea of me seeing and seeing clearly. Raise your hand if you agree. Raise your hand if you concur. All right. So I will be avoiding alcohol in order to avoid blurred vision. All right, so we have a couple more. Y'all are doing so great. So now we are on balance and coordination. So how does alcohol affect your balance and coordination? That's all right. That's exactly right, you guys. It helps you lose your balance and coordination. So in order to show this, everyone go ahead and stand up. I need you all to stand up. Waiting for everyone to stand up. All right, go ahead and we're going to do really quickly. Go ahead and lift one leg. Doesn't matter what leg it is. Go ahead and try to practice your balance and your movement and your coordination. Okay, now close your eyes. All right, now stick one hand up. Now stick the other hand up. All right, I'm watching some of y'all, and some of y'all look a little wobbly. That is how it feels when you drink alcohol. You lose your balance and coordination, you guys. All right, so now we are on the last one that's a little bit different, but we're going to learn a lot about it. So alcohol also affects our reaction time. So before we get into it, what is your reaction time? Does anyone know? All right, in case you don't know, we're going to go over it. So your reaction time is the amount of time it takes a person to respond to something. So usually when someone's talking to you or you see something or something happens that involves you, you have a reaction time to do something right after. And alcohol slows that down. If you remember Zootopia and the sloths that move super slow, that's basically what alcohol can do to you too. Even though sloths look like a lot of fun, you know, I don't want to be a sloth. Not today, at least. So I'm going to avoid alcohol, and I want you guys to avoid alcohol too. Alcohol slows down the brain's response to information, so it takes longer for you to react, just like we said with the sloth from Zootopia. All right, great job, you guys. So we are going to move on. The brain controls every part of our body, right? When the brain is impaired, though, the whole body is affected. All of your body is affected, making it difficult for you to do the things that you want to do, the fun things you want to do, and the important things you want to do in life, and achieve your goal. Remember, we had that huge goal, our classroom goal and our personal goal from lesson 1. So alcohol use can change your body in a way that will hinder you achieving that goal ultimately. All right, great job, you guys. Y'all have been participating so well today. All right, so what I need you guys to do now, we're going to move on. Go ahead and turn in your workbooks to page 21. Page 21. It's called Brain Power. All right, give you guys a minute to get there. All right, now that we have gotten there, so we have our friend Griffin. So Griffin loves to play football, and he wants to play well so he can make the team. He wants to make his school team, right? So to prepare himself for tryouts, he decided to review the skills and abilities he needed to master this game. All right, so if you look on page 21, you should see Griffin's interests and then how each part of his brain helps him with playing football or could help him make the football team, right? Right. All right. So you guys, you have a few minutes to review the skills and abilities of Griffin in his playing football and how he will get to his ultimate goal of making the football team. After that, you guys are going to do the same thing. You guys should see the same thing where you have a box for your interests and then all the brain skills that are going to get you to accomplishing that interest. All right, so you guys have a few minutes to look over Griffin's and then do your own. Find a fun activity that you like and go ahead and tell me how, or go ahead and write down how your brain helps you do that activity. All right, and your few minutes start now. All right, you guys, I saw a lot of writing down, so let me hear some answers. This, in order to hear y'all's answers, I want you guys to go ahead and raise your hand and allow your teacher to call on you this time. So I'm listening. Go ahead. All right, I heard a lot of fun activities. Y'all sound like a fun bunch. I am so glad I'm working with you guys. All right, so now we're going to move on. These abilities help you participate in the activities you enjoy. For instance, with Griffin, we saw just a list where he used to remind himself to stay drug free in order to accomplish his goals, such as making the school football team. Like Griffin, I want you guys to do the same thing. Go ahead and you make a list or write down a pat basically saying that you are going to stay drug free or alcohol free, because we're talking about alcohol today, in order to keep your brain healthy and in order to accomplish the fun activities that you want to in life or the fun goals that you want to in life. Give you guys a moment to do that. All right, great job, you guys. Y'all are keeping with it. I feel like those brain exercises at the beginning, they worked because y'all are doing great. All right, so now we're going to continue to use our noggin. So that's using our noggin. So one day, someone might actually try to pressure you to try alcohol. It might be sometime soon. It might be sometime when you're older. But when that time comes, you should be able to use a peer pressure refusal strategy. That term should sound very familiar to you guys, in order to avoid using the alcohol. So for example, say someone comes up to you and says, "Come on, everybody's drinking alcohol." You guys go ahead and tell me some peer pressure refusal strategies that you can do to steer away from that. If you guys need help, remember the ones we talked about at the beginning of this lesson when we did our recap. All right, I'm hearing great answers, great thoughts. Y'all obviously have been paying attention today into all of my lessons. I love it. So when faced with peer pressure, you need to be ready to respond to it. All right, so we're going to put this into practice. Go ahead and take a look at the section titled Practice Plan in your books. What you guys are going to do is y'all are going to read each scenario and answer the best way you think that friend group should handle that scenario. Once you come up with the answer, go ahead and write your answer in the space provided. But remember, be prepared to share your answer. All right, so since y'all have been using y'all's noggins and been so great at using your noggins all day, I'm gonna go ahead and give you only about 2 minutes to go ahead and do that. And then I'm gonna hear some answers, some great thoughts, some creative thoughts. Your 2 minutes start now. All right, awesome job, you guys. Back up here. Bring those brains back over to me. So our first scenario says, Rusty and Jacob are playing basketball in Jacob's driveway. Jacob says, I'm thirsty. Let's go grab a beer out of my dad's refrigerator. Oof. Okay, so what could Rusty say or do to refuse the peer pressure? Thoughts? What did we come up with, you guys? Go ahead and tell Mr. Cole. All right, great job. All right, so one last one, you guys. So Gina is at a sleepover party at a friend's house when her friend tells everyone, hey, my brother sneaked in some beer. Who wants to try it? Oof, one more time. All right, so what could Gina say or refuse, or how could she refuse the peer pressure? Come on, you guys. Y'all have been doing a great job of using y'all's noggins today. Just one last answer. All right. Love the thoughts. Love the ideas. Y'all have been so great today. Go ahead and give yourselves a round of applause. Y'all have done so great today. I have so much fun with you guys, like always. And that's all I have for you guys today. So go ahead and make sure y'all are having a great day. All right, I will see you next week.